Hey, Southeast Missouri sports fans. Enjoy the show and want to take it on the go? You can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Tune in as they air by searching SEMO Sports Zone wherever you may be listening. Welcome to the SEMO Sports Zone presented by A-Corp Sports. You're listening to this on Monday, March 3rd. Dave, we just had a massive Friday of district games.
Yeah, it was an awesome night of basketball games. I wish they would kind of space them apart where we could see them, a little bit better, where they're all not finishing at about the same time. But I tell you what, it's a great night for basketball, and I'm so happy for East Prairie and Woodland. We'll just jump into them real quick because both of those communities are first ever district titles. And they get to play each other in the sectional, which is kind of cool too. Mm-hmm. But just the excitement around them and all the everything winning your first one. East Prairie's been around for over 100 years or so, and that's a great one for them. And then Woodland, same, just tremendous and tremendous games as well. So shout out to them right off the bat. That's awesome. But it was just an awesome night of basketball. Yeah, you really got to think what that meant to both of those communities at that point. I know East Prairie was just. 3 seasons having 20 wins plus. And then, this is just kind of like a really just like good check mark to put on everything too. Yeah, absolutely. And it's fantastic. Let's build a statue for Coach Scott outside there. He's done a tremendous job. This is the best run they've had in basketball that I think ever with these 3 years, and to cap it off with a district title. And one of those teams has a really good chance. Obviously one of those teams is going to be in the quarterfinal and has a really good chance to make a Final Four. So that's just outstanding for those communities. And I know that they're just flying high right now, and just kudos to both of them. Yeah, and I'm just to mention it, Stoddard County. We talked Stoddard County was good at the beginning of the year, and then we kind of questioned that. It was the Boot Hill Conference better, but Stoddard County, they've got 3 getting out of districts, possibly 4 if Dexter can get out, but definite 3, and so good for them. Just a great showing from the Stoddard County Conference on Friday night. Well, I guess let's just start off with Class 1 District 1, Risco versus Southland, 79-40. Yeah, that was kind of what we expected, I think, from that game. Risco set a school record for wins, which is pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. They've had some really good teams in the last 20 years or so, and Risco just jumped on them early, didn't let up, and there was a little bit of extra motivation for them after the Tri-County tournament stuff, where they had to play with 5 players. So a little bit extra motivation, and they just came out and just took care of business, and Good season for Southland. Only the second time they ever made a district title, so good season for them. Risco is just too talented. Mm-hmm. Risco is just very talented in that district, and they proved it. And now we'll see how far they can go in Class 1. Absolutely, I think for Risco at this point, this was a district championship that we kind of, I don't want to say knew the outcome before the game was played, but at the same time, this is a Risco team that is primed for a state title. I feel like. I hope so. Coach Blankenship has been around for a long time, and he does a tremendous job. And so many years they ran into really good Scott Central teams with a guy named Otto Porter. Mm-hmm. Come on, it's just unfortunate. And so this year's team is really good. It may be the best they've had, and so hopefully that they can make a good run here. But they're going to be tested. They're definitely going to be tested. Monday night, and they've got it's not going to be easy. But I think I'm like you. I think they've got a team that can make a run and have a chance to get this state title. And so on our predictions just for this game, we're 1-1. Yeah, both took Risco. Good. Yeah, there we go. Well, let's talk about their coming opponent. And on Monday night, Class 1 District 2, Richland versus Delta, 80-67. Yeah, Richland started slow. They did not have a good start. I think Delta jumped out. They were up like 30-16, had a big lead, and but then Richland just started clicking, and I think they went on a 27-4 run, and that pretty much just put the game, in hand, and they just never let up. Mm-hmm. And so kudos to them. We've been waiting for them to click. But again, we've talked about it. They're consistently inconsistent, and they were inconsistent in this game. They start off slow, but then they really turn it on. But they're a team that, very good team. Their third straight district title, I believe. That's the first time that's ever happened in their school history. So good for them. And but they're, no matter how inconsistent they are, they're exactly where they want to be right now, and you can't say anything bad about that.
Yeah, and I think what we've said all regular season about being consistently inconsistent is just, it doesn't matter right now. As long as you're winning these games, that's what matters. And I think Richland knows that at this point. Is like anything else that happened this season, whatever. Your opponents at this point. You've met Risco before, so if they can bring what Richland, like we've seen them be able to, especially in like bigger game moments, I don't know. This would be a tough ask, I feel like, for either team to come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Richland has the ability, when they're firing on all cylinders, Richland has the ability to be really, really good. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it. We saw it against Hayti. We've seen flashes of it all year long. And now it's just the question is, can they turn that on here in the playoffs? And we saw them, do that last year whenever they knocked off Risco. We'll see if they can do it this year. But the potential for Richland is there. It's really good. So we'll see. That's just I think it's going to be a battle between Richland and Risco. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to Class 2 District 1. Hayti versus Neelyville, 58-56. That was a hell of a game. Just a battle. Both of those teams just left it all out there. Neelyville kind of played at their pace, and that benefited them. They were in foul trouble early, fought through that. Hayti got a lead, and Neelyville just kept fighting back. Hayti was able to hit their free throws at the end, and that was key. I think Javante Payne, I think he hit like 11 free throws in the game. I mean, he was really good from the free throw line, and Combat, he hit the free throws to seal it at the end. But man, I tell you what, this guy named Kaysen Stevens for Neelyville is just a beast. Mm-hmm. He's just a heck of a player. He scored 25 last night, 21 of them in the second half, and just left it all out on the floor. Just a tremendous player, just a tremendous basketball game. It is unfortunate that one team had to lose, but kudos to Hayti for moving on. Yeah, and kudos to Neelyville for just battling at this point. That Hayti winning, awesome, like absolutely. But man, this Class 2 District 1, that is a pretty crazy narrative just to watch how that bracket changed. Yeah, and with Campbell going down and Neely, but I mean, we talked about it from about Christmas, right after Christmas on, about the first of the year, that Neelyville was going to be a tough out, and man, they definitely proved that. They were. They gave Hayti everything they wanted and more, and it really looked like that Neelyville was going to kind of pull that one out, and just didn't work out for them at the end. But man, that was just a battle. Both teams, like I said, left it on the floor, and it was just a really nice win for Hayti. Yeah, now Haty's going to take on South Iron, so yeah, it's going to be about the same. I mean, I expect the exact same type game. Let's move on to Class 2 District 3, Charleston versus Puxico. Ended that game 42-67. Can you pass the salt? Yeah. I need to eat some crow. Yeah. Puxico did everything they needed to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had the perfect start. Like we talked about, you have to come out and have a great start. And they did that. They jumped out to a 20-4 lead. And they did everything that they needed to do. It was played perfectly. They made shots. I thought that Charleston's athleticism would speed them up. It didn't bother them. They didn't turn the ball over. Obviously we're always impressed with their defense. They play really good defensively, but I was impressed with their rebounding. I thought they dominated the glass, they were just clearly heads and tails better than Charleston. And, so I will die on that hill with Charleston and their 14 district titles. Yeah. And I mean, it was because I've watched it from the baseline. It's just, that defense was immaculate. Mm-hmm. Everything they needed to do, they did. Lock down Henderson, just kind of took him out of that factor. He couldn't play in the paint. That's exactly what they needed to. We thought Bircher was going to get his points, and then Hancock popped off too. Just great athleticism from Puxico. Just made themselves look head and tails like they were destined to win that game, like from the jump. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, defense, it was a perfect game plan. You take away the inside, you take away the drives, and you make them shoot from outside and make it. And Charleston just couldn't make them. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, then that just plays right into Puxico's hands. And so it was just a great game plan and great execution by Puxico. And obviously they've got a legit shot. Probably, I think Puxico has the best chance of any Southeast Missouri team to win a state title. Just if they play like that, there's and shoot like that. What they shoot like 60% or better.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Just unreal shooting. And if you can shoot like that and play like that, because we know they play good defensively. If you can shoot like that, who's going to beat you? It's going to be tough. And so kudos, my hats off to Puxico. They tremendous game.
Yeah, we have a couple bags sitting in front of us too.
We have some gifts from Puxa Joe.
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
Look at them real quick here. We have a letter here for us. I believe as I open this up, it's a nice little crow recipe. Nice barbecue crow sliders. On behalf of the Puxico Indian fan base, I'd like to thank you for doubting our boys. This doubt lit a fire under them that hopefully won't be easy to put out. I'd also like to thank you for inspiring a great shirt design. It's been a bestseller for us. But seriously, thank you for the spotlight you guys are shining on local high school sports. These towns know and love the boys on these teams. What you guys do with your podcast helps other towns get to know and love them too. Sincerely, Puxa Joe. And thank you, Puxa Joe. As T-shirts as well. That's awesome.
Oh, prove them wrong. Oh.
Yeah, it's awesome. I saw that on social media, and I love it. Look, we've kind of needled Puxico fans here and there and stuff, but Puxico, they are a very, very good basketball team, and like I said, I think they have the best chance of any team in Southeast Missouri to win a state title, and just it's been a lot of fun going back and forth with them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as if it needs to be said. All kudos to those boys on that team.
Absolutely.
They are playing their best basketball, and you guys know who you are. So anything that you need to put on a whiteboard to motivate yourself just that little bit more, we're happy to provide that. But man, what a fun season for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I need to pick against you every game to motivate you, I'll do that because I want to see our local teams, especially once they get out of districts. I want them to make these runs. I want to see every one of our teams who, in every class. I want to see Southeast Missouri teams win in every class. So, I'm a huge Puxico fan. Let's go Indians.
All right, let's move on to. We already talked about Class 3 District 2 a little bit. Actually, let's just cover Class 3 District 1 right now. Crothersville versus East Prairie. We know what this matchup's going to be on Monday, but we talked about congratulations to East Prairie, but that must have been such a game.
It was a great game. Great game. It was, I got to see some of it, and it was, Crothersville led most of the first half. East Prairie was just kind of hanging around, and East Prairie kind of took the lead right there at halftime, and then it was tied at 62 after 3. It was a back and forth game. Neither team was really giving in right up until the end. Johnson, Markham, they played outstanding. Alexander for Crothersville, Bryant for Crothersville, they all played great. It was just all your big players did what they needed to do, and East Prairie just made the plays at the end. And Crothersville missed some big free throws down the stretch, and I think that kind of was the difference in the game. East Prairie took advantage of that, and but just up and down game. Your neck hurts after the game just watching that thing go up and down. There was a point in the first half where the ball was tipped like 10 times, and finally East Prairie got it on the other end of the floor for a layup, and just a terrific game and a tough end for Crothersville. Kind of a scary moment early in the game. Jay White for East Prairie collapsed early in the game, had a little medical emergency, but he's everything I've been told is he's okay. So thank goodness for that. But just a great job from East Prairie and their team and their town. Just fantastic for them to get that district title.
Yeah, you want to talk about being motivated. I think for East Prairie, we mentioned too is just like, can you show up for these big games? Mm-hmm. And I think this was the one time that they really locked in. Like this was one where like it was your best chance to win a district title. You've never done it before, and they just did everything they needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have New Madrid, there in front of you, a really good New Madrid team. You don't have Charleston. So yeah, it was prime for them, and Scott City's in the other district. So it was just prime for them to to win this game. And
not to take anything away from Crothersville too, because this was a good Crothersville team.
Yeah,
that they matched up with.
Yeah, and they matched up. They look like carbon copies of each other. Just what they like to do, they get up and down the floor, the way they guard and defend. They were just very similar, and it was just a really good basketball game between two really good teams. And East Prairie just came out the winner this time, and deservedly so. They played very well, and good luck to them moving forward.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about Class 3 District 2. Probably one of the closest games I can think of.
Yeah.
Woodland versus Scott City ended that game 50-49.
We said it was a battle in Hayti and Elyville. This was just a bruising game between Woodland and Scott City. I think, neither team could get out and run much. So it was just kind of a slow possession by possession game. Woodland had the lead the entire game, and Scott City took it with 14 seconds left. And then just a great play. They inbound the ball to Leighton. Leighton drives the length of the floor. I think Scott City was expecting him to dish it off to somebody, but he just took it length of the floor, went up and got the go ahead points. And then Watson with a three at the buzzer that for Scott City was contested, just didn't go. But just a tremendous game, tremendous way to end the game, and just a fitting way to end the game whenever you have a battle like that. And it's just Woodland, I thought, showed a lot of toughness in this game. For Scott City to battle back like that, Woodland didn't flinch, was able to put it away at the end. And so just again, kudos to them and their community for their first.
You talked about earlier just what teams are going to make the Final Four, and Woodland and East Prairie both look like that team right now.
Yeah,
and man, I'm still so impressed with Woodland at this point. What kind of like adversity wise, just like in their gameplay that they've had to face and then come back from to be at this point. Because I'd taken Scott City over Woodland in this game, and I don't feel like I really had that many reasons not to believe that, at least a couple weeks ago. But right now, I mean, it was a tough game. Obviously, is a 1 point game. So
yeah, and it's a game you play that game 10 times, it may go 5-5. It's just they're just very evenly matched, and I would love to see that game played 10 times. That'd be that'd be a fun little series. But just a tremendous effort from Woodland just to get out of that game with the win, and did what they needed to do at the end, and just good for them. Leighton, he's a heck of a kid. He's great at cross country, and so he's a gamer, and he's somebody that hits that game winner. But he doesn't get the publicity of Kinder and some of those other guys. But he's a heck of a player.
Absolutely. Man, what a night for districts.
It was great. It was just a fan. I wish they were kind of separated a little bit more so you could watch some more games. But it was just a tremendous night of basketball.
Absolutely. And, it's one of those nights where even if I wasn't watching every broadcast, I had multiple people around me looking at score updates and just being like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but Neelyville Hayti, they're like neck and neck right now. And it's just like, oh, okay. So I got updates like that coming through just every which way. People are sending texts just being like, Richland over Delta and things like that.
Yeah, watching games, I had earbuds in, and I had different games on different radio broadcasts. I was trying to every way I could to get every bit of this, all these games, and try to soak up at least a little bit of every one of them.
Yeah, and the only complaint I have is you wish it was a little more spaced out, just so I could actually sit there and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely, because there were some great games.
Do you want to talk about some upcoming games?
Absolutely.
Want to start with sectionals?
Let's do that.
Class 1, Richland versus Risco. This matchup, I feel like we expected it at the start of the year. It didn't get solidified until now, but at the same time, we've seen this game before.
Yeah.
I just don't know where it's going to go this time.
Yeah, my pick would be Risco because obviously they've beaten them twice already this year. It's tough to beat a team 3 times. We've talked about that, but that's also if the team's better, it's just gonna that's just what happens. Richland is a team that can put this together and play really well and end Risco's dream just right off the bat. This is a team. If Richland comes in there and is clicking and playing well, guarding, they match up with Risco. They beat them last year. They played them pretty close both times this year. So it could happen. I still think this is Risco's year. I just feel like Coach Blankenship's going to have them ready to go, and playing at Gideon, that's a very familiar place for Risco. So I like Risco in this game, but I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to come down to the end. I don't think it's going to be a game that's a blowout.
Yeah, I think the two biggest factors to me that could put that scale over on Richland's side is foul trouble and physicality.
Yeah.
I think if you get Risco into foul trouble, I think that's going to obviously change a game. I mean, we know Risco can pull people off the bench, but they're limited. And, I think Richland at that point, once they get one of those main scorers on the bench, then they can really turn up that physical dial and just, play in the paint. Whether that happens, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if for Richland, I think the key for them is I think you got to get Tilly a lot of shots in that
Sure.
12 to 15 foot range, and if he's hitting, that's a big plus for them. Because that opens things up for Sanders outside and opens up some of the outside stuff. So I think that's a key for them. For Risco, is just I think Risco needs to get up and down the floor. Mm-hmm. They've improved their defense over the course of the year. I mean, just and so I think that they just really need to get in and not let Tilly get off. But I think but just take advantage of any turnovers. Richland will have a tendency to turn it over here and there, and if Richland can take advantage of those, turn them into easy layups, I think that's a definite benefit for Risco. But like I said, I like Risco in this game, but be wary of a Richland team that just locks in and it starts clicking for them.
Yeah, it gets sneaky. I mean, I feel like it's easy to kind of count Richland out, but at the same time, it's not, because we've seen them come back and bigger games like this too. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not I mean, if they were to win this game, it wouldn't be a shock to either one of us.
Yeah, and I guarantee, Blankenship is prepping his team and just being like, okay, do not sleep on this game. Absolutely do not. It is going to be probably one of their biggest tests of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would assume, since losing to them in the district championship game last year, I believe it was, and I mean that's a game that sits with you as a player.
Yeah.
And so those guys will remember that, and so you don't want the same thing to happen, and you've played them a couple of times this year. You're very familiar with them. Both teams are very familiar with each other. So it ought to be just a really good game, and good luck to both teams. That's just one you just look forward to watching. And
just to kind of talk about who would probably end up being their opponent afterwards, I've got Chadwick and Eminence down.
Yeah, you would think Chadwick. Eminence upset Bunker, which is kind of a surprise. Bunker had a really nice season. I think they only had like 3 losses going into the district tournament, but Eminence got them. I think Chadwick, though, defending state champs, I think they're the one. Obviously they're the ones who are favored to come out of that, and then it's a heck of a quarterfinal game on Friday night between either Risco or Richland against them. So I think got to get through this game first, but looking forward, that's a possible state championship type game.
Yeah,
going to be played in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, it's Class 1. I don't feel like there's been a ton of drama as far as like where teams are heading, but like right now, this kind of feels like it's hitting that focal point where it's just like, well, this could go anywhere.
Yeah, now the drama starts.
All right, let's talk about Class 2. We got South Iron versus Hayti.
Man, at Hayti, that's a big benefit. That's a big benefit. But South Iron went down to Crothersville, which is about the same as going down to Hayti, and took care of Crothersville. So, I think South Iron's probably the favorite here, but I'm going to go Hayti just because number one, they're local,
sure,
and but number two, I like their ability to get up and down the floor at home. They're going to be very familiar with that, and if they're hitting their shots, they're tough to beat. They're very athletic and can shoot it as well. That poses a big problem. South Iron, I've been very impressed with them. When I've seen them this year, but I'm just going to take Hayti playing at home. I think that's going to be a great atmosphere down there, and I think that's going to be a lot of kind of put them over the top.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very close game. Yeah. I think it's going to be, I'm going to say, a 3-point game.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with it. I think I'm also taking Hayti. I think if Hayti, if this would be the game though that really sets them apart for me. It's just like I feel like their wins have been closer than I would have liked them to. I mean, no discredit to Neelyville, but I feel like that's a game that you probably could have put in away too. But this would be the one that's just like, okay, if you can win by a bigger margin than like 5 points, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm the same way. This is a coin flip game for me, but it's just going to be a battle. I think both ways. Can Hayti get out and run? South Iron seems to be a team that they can play a lower pace, slower pace game, win a game in the 40s. They can also win a game in the 70s and 80s. We saw them do that against Caruthersville. So they can get up and down the floor. They can, so whatever pace that you want to play at, they can play at that pace. They're a very seasoned team. I mean, they're used to being in this moment. They're there a lot. Coach Dinkins is a really nice coach there for South Iron. So, I think it's just going to be a battle. But again, I think Hayti with that home court advantage, that gives them a little bit of an advantage, in my opinion.
And then moving on to Puxico and Valley.
Game will be played at Bloomfield. That's a second home for Puxico. I think, I don't know, I was looking it up, and 16 or 17 games in the last 2 years, I think Puxico's played at Bloomfield. So, Puxico is going to fill the stands with their fans.
Yep.
It's going to be like a home game for sure, even though it's not at Puxico. And, I should pick Valley here because, they like to, Puxico likes to use that as motivation, but I think Puxico wins this game. I just think Puxico wins. Like I said, I think they have the best chance of any team in Southeast Missouri to win a state title. And especially if they play like they did on Friday night. And so I've got Puxico winning this game. And I think it is you can't sleep on Valley. I think, I don't know a lot about them, but I've heard they've got some pretty good shooters. But Puxico's shown the ability to shut shooters down like that. So, I like Puxico.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody's kind of in that boat right now. Looking at Valley, I mean, just judging off of records, you would think this would be a very close game. But I'm going to say Puxico wins by however many they want to.
Yeah, I won't go that far. I think Puxico wins a game, double figures, or by 10, 12 points. But I think, you get in these games, you can be a little tight at times, and Valley's not going to quit. They're going to play, they're going to come after you. So I think, Puxico wins the game, but I don't like predicting blowouts in these type games because, everybody who's in these games are good.
Sure,
everybody's going to have, everybody's going to be good. But I think Puxico is a clear favorite here, and hopefully they move on, and we see. It'd be nice to see a Puxico Hayti quarterfinal game that kind of two local teams. That'd be really nice to see.
Yeah, that's a harder one to consider because I mean, if you'd asked me like maybe a couple of weeks ago, I'd say that'd be kind of a coin flip game. But after seeing Puxico play Charleston and what they do with that kind of offense that, Hayti Charleston, they kind of run, I don't feel like Puxico would have that much of a problem with Hayti.
No, I think it would all depend on if Hayti can make shots. If Hayti can go and make shots the way they did against Campbell earlier this year, anybody's in trouble. But if they don't make shots, it's kind of what they had against Neelyville. I think Hayti, in my opinion, Hayti is a little bit better than Charleston. Do I think that they have a team good enough to beat Puxico? Only if they're clicking on all cylinders. I think Puxico would be the favorite there, but we'll see when that game. We'll see if that game materializes.
Yeah, and then moving on to Class 3, we've talked about this one a little bit. Woodland versus East Prairie.
Oh my gosh, I have no clue in this game. I have absolutely no clue. I've been on Woodland all year. Got off them a little bit after they lost to Puxico in the Stockton County tournament. But for the most part, I've been talking about how good Woodland is all year. But this game, I don't know. It's just going to be just whoever has the ball last, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just it's just going to be an outstanding basketball game and one that I can't wait to get eyes on. It's just I have no idea who has the advantage in this game. I think if I had to pick, I would probably say East Prairie, just because I think their size with Johnson inside is going to cause a little bit of problems for Woodland, but I don't know. I mean, it's a coin flip game for me.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a big moment game. I've seen both these teams in big moments either show up or don't show up, and I would say this is the game where both teams are going to show up, and I think this is another one that's going to end. Like you said, who's got the ball last? I don't know. It's somebody's going to win by like 2 points.
Yeah.
And it might go into like double overtime.
I hope so. And you better get there early if you're going to, because, I would assume both towns, the entire towns are going to be there and try to fit everybody into that East Prairie gym. That's just going to be, it's going to be loud. It's going to be just, just a great atmosphere for a high school basketball game. And hopefully the game lives up to the billing. I think it will. I think it's going to go down to the wire. And, I don't have a clue who wins that game. I don't have a clue.
I'm going to take East Prairie
Yeah,
tentatively.
Yeah, I'm going to take East Prairie just because of the size difference. I mean, that's the only thing I can think that would be, Johnson inside, but Woodland's been undersized all year long.
So when Kinder pops off, he pops off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough. I mean, it's just tough to. I just want to sit in and watch a really good basketball game and see who the best team is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to watch one, I think that's one to keep your eyes on. If you're an outside looking in kind of person.
Yeah, if you're looking for one game to watch on, and all these are good games. Don't get me wrong, all four of these are good games. But if you're looking for one game to watch, I think it's at East Prairie Woodland.
I would say so. All right, upcoming districts: Class 4 District 1, Fredericktown versus Donovan.
Down the 4-5 there. I don't know a lot about Fredericktown. I know that they're hosting. It's a drive to get to from everywhere to get to Fredericktown. It's a drive in Fredericktown to get to Fredericktown. So they obviously have that home court advantage. Donovan, Emmett Jones is playing really well. I mean, they played really well against Kennett the other night. Look good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Donovan win this game, but it ought to be a really good one.
You would think so. I don't know. That's it's a 4-5 game. So yeah, those are usually the most competitive, I would say.
Yeah, it's one of those that are pretty much evenly matched, I would think. I mean, they on paper, again, I don't know a ton about Fredericktown, but typically Fredericktown looks a lot like what Donovan does this year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just whoever's playing the best, that night. And then Kennett versus Perryville. Kennett's not playing really well right now. They're coming in on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. It's I don't know. I would put them on, upset alert, because Perryville's not a bad team. Perryville's better than they have been in the past. I still say Kennett gets through this game, and gets that third rematch with Dexter. Boy, oh man, that would be a stressful game, I would say, because we know how it looks when Kennett plays Dexter right now. Yeah, it's tough to beat a team 3 times, and those 2 teams have been evenly matched, and Dexter's pulled them out. The last one they pulled out in double overtime. I would expect nothing less than that in the if they match up in the semifinal. And then the winner, I think, would get Notre Dame. Notre Dame got the top seed here, and I think Notre Dame's clearly the favorite in this district. I would be surprised if Dexter, or the way Dexter and Kennett are kind of coming into this tournament, I'd be surprised if either one of them were able to knock off Notre Dame. Which, I mean, anything's possible. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we've seen recently Notre Dame play Dexter and how that game went. Yeah, housed them quick. So yeah. It is. Anything can happen, but at the same time, you do have to take in consideration of just like, but we've seen how Notre Dame plays. Mm-hmm. But, the game's played that night for that reason. Right. Yeah. You there's only 2 teams that can win the game, and it's the 2 teams that are playing in the game. So, you have a chance. So, if you're Dexter and Kennett, just get there. Just get there and just see, I'm sure that Coach Allen and Coach McBroom, they've got some game plans for each other. And then if they get to that championship game, I'm sure they're going to have a game plan for Notre Dame. All right. Class 5 District 1, first game up, Farmington versus DeSoto. Yeah, I think this is a district that I think, depending on, I think it's just a 2-horse race. I think, we looked at this earlier. I think Farmington rolls into the championship game. I think, they've got DeSoto. They should take care of DeSoto pretty easily. Hillsboro, Poplar Bluff is the next game. I think Farmington rolls. Yeah, I would say so. I feel like this one, we know probably the 2 teams that are going to meet up at the end. How that game's going to go, who knows? Yeah. And like you said, Hillsboro versus Poplar Bluff. Yeah, I don't know. I believe Brendan Durden is back for Poplar Bluff, so that helps them. That's something that they need. But yeah, just beat Dexter 64-57, I believe, is the final, something like that, by 7. It was a good game, but I mean, Poplar Bluff, with Durden, it's pretty. They're not a bad team with Durden, and although I like Hillsboro, I think Hillsboro's, it's. I just like Hillsboro in this game. Hillsboro's got a pretty good program up there. I don't think they've got enough to knock off Farmington, but I think they can knock off Poplar Bluff. Yeah, I could probably see that.
And then Sykeston versus North County, I think that's a pretty easy lock.
Yeah, I think Sykeston rolls. I like Sykeston to win this tournament. I really do. I think that, they're going to have that motivation of losing to Farmington. I don't like the fact it's at Farmington and the championship's on a Monday night.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh.
I don't like that, but at the same time, I think Sykeston's motivated to where it's not going to bother them. They're playing really well right now. Tristan Wiggins is playing really well. He and PJ Farmer put on a show against Tolton on Thursday night, and I think they're playing really well. And if Tristan Wiggins is playing like that to go along with Farmer, that's a really nice 1-2 punch and something they didn't have whenever they played Farmington the first time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest difference makers. I mean, we looked at that Father Tolton game as going to be like, okay, that's one of Sykeston's like kind of last big challenges. And you know what? It was. Listen, if you got a coach from Kansas State looking at a D1 prospect at that game, I mean, that's a bigger game that you have to play, and Sykeston played it well.
Yeah, they did, and that kid went off. He had 32, but at the same time, Sykeston won the game handily, and they look good doing it. So I really think Sykeston is playing well right now. And I think for me, I think they're going to win this tournament. Cape Central will give them a game in that semifinal. I think Cape Central gets through Festus. But it also wouldn't shock me to see Festus knock off Cape Central either. Festus is not a bad basketball team, and I think that's better for Sykeston if Festus knocks off Cape Central, because I think Cape Central, they've seen Sykeston enough. They can probably have a better game plan against them than Festus would.
Yeah, I could see that. I think for Cape Central, I mean, if they match up with Sykeston again, I don't know. You've kind of seen like what your bag of tricks does against them. You can slow them down, obviously, but they're just so hard to contain.
Yeah, and if they're playing well and hitting their shots, I just don't think there's anybody around here that can beat them. Farmington, I tell you what, Farmington has the team that can. I mean, that's going to be a tough out. And obviously they beat them the first time they played, and Farmington's a really nice basketball team. So I think that's going to be a great challenge in the championship game. And I by no means do I think Sykeston's going to go in there and blow them out or anything. I think it's going to be a really nice down to the wire game. I just think that Sykeston right now is playing really well, and I think he's going to has enough to pull that one out.
Yeah, I think this Sykeston team right now doesn't feel as disjointed as it did when it played that Farmington game. I think anything that might have resembled any kind of flu game has well since passed. Yeah. So I think I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I'm going to take Sykeston to win this district, but like you said, I think it's just going to be a game.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game kind of like that East Prairie Woodland game. It's a game I want to watch for sure.
Dave, am I missing anything?
Class 6 District 1. We got Jackson. Jackson's a 3 seed there, and man, that's a wide open tournament. You got Cardinal Ritter as the 4 seed there, which is surprising. They're a team that, man, they look really good and then they look really bad, and then they beat Farmington by 25 points. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're very up and down. So Jackson has a shot to win this. Seckman's a 2nd seed. They're having their best season in school history. Seckman just beat Jackson last week, but that's motivation for Jackson. I actually like that now that they lost to them, because you turn around and play them a week later, you're going to be motivated. That motivation plays a big thing. Just ask Puxico. That's a big thing in high school. So I think Jackson's going to be motivated, and I think Jackson can win a district title here. They're going to be. I think they play Cardinal Ritter in the championship, and probably Cardinal Ritter pulls that out. But I think it'll be this is a district that Jackson can win, and I think we're going to see them in a district championship game on Monday.
What adjustments does Jackson have to make to beat Seckman and take a district title?
I think they just need to play with more energy. I didn't feel like, from what I watched of that game, that Jackson played the normal Jackson game. I just didn't feel like they were clicking, and for whatever reason, That game really, I mean, your seeds are already out. This game doesn't really mean much, for the most part. So, you kind of know where you're going to be. So, you're going to have to play these guys probably again. And, man, that's so I think just come out with a little more energy, a little more focus. And I think that's, Jackson typically handles Seckman. I think they can do that again. And then, Cardinal Ritter, I mean, who knows? Cardinal Ritter is, like I said, they're up and down all season, but they've got tremendous talent. And whenever they are playing well, they are playing very well, and they're a tough team to beat. So we'll just see what happens with them and see how they're playing when they get to that championship game, if they do.
Well, I think one of the biggest complaints, I don't even know if you can call it a complaint, but just a general observation is I need to see more points scored by Jackson, not just Koldeck.
Yeah, they need to get he needs some help. But at the same time, I need to see some more inside play from them. I like Ernst inside and Lee Ivey. He's a good player. I want to see some more from them. Better rebounding at times, which will help them get some just some easy cheap putbacks. And but they. Look, Jackson, Coach Toma does a nice job with them, and I think he'll have them ready to go. And I firmly believe, I really think that I'm going to see Jackson in the championship game here. Now, how that plays out, I don't know, but I think I see Jackson in the championship game here. I
think for any team that's going to be playing against Jackson, one, you're looking at that game they played against Seckman, but I think you're also looking at that game they played against Sykeston.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's that kind of shows you like what happens when you kind of frustrate Jackson and then mess with their tempo, things like that. The way they typically want to play a game, if you can get them off of that kind of keyed in focus, I think you can. They're a beatable team, obviously. Yeah. For Jackson, I feel like you gotta look at those games yourself and like what you can adjust and change to keep the game how you want to play it.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the Seckman Melville. The winner of that game, which will probably be Seckman, I think they play a style that Jackson likes, and Oakville, who Jackson plays in the first round, they play more of a style that Jackson likes. I think that that fits very well with him. Now, when they play Cardinal Ritter, that's a whole different. Cardinal Ritter can get up and down the floor and look, and use their athletic ability and use their speed and try to get up and down in an up tempo game. I think that. It's kind of like what Sykeston does to them. I think that could be a problem. But Cardinal Ritter, they've got SLU in the opening game. That's going to be tough. It's at this tournament's at SLU, so that'll be tough to beat them on their home floor. And then Lindbergh's a top seed here. We haven't even mentioned them. They're actually the top seed in this tournament. But they're a beatable team. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think Jackson, if they make some adjustments, come out and play with some energy, and I think that I like them to get that championship game, and then you see.
All right, Dave, anything else?
That's about it. We've covered a lot here in this last little bit.
Yeah, no, man, what a week. What an end of a week.
Yeah, well, districts get here and it comes fast and it ends fast. I feel bad for some of these teams that have lost because, it ends so quick. I mean, it's just one game and all of a sudden in an hour and a half, your season's over and you're done playing basketball if you're a senior or whatever. So it's tough for these teams and you feel bad for them when they lose, but man, you feel great for these teams that win and just keep moving on because it's not only the players, but it involves the entire community. Mm-hmm. As we saw from Puxico, how they get with East Prairie and Woodland and all those communities, Risco, all those teams in their communities that just get behind them and everything. It's just a great it's a great to see and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think when you get to this point too, and once you've exited sectionals and those teams that move to like the Final Four, things like that, I think you really see not just your community being behind that team, but I think you see kind of the area being behind that team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I think about any team that's gone to state at this point and everybody wants to have eyes on them. Everybody wants to have that water cooler talk of just like, always knew that kid was going to make it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. and the entire, like you said, the entire area, Southeast Missouri will be rooting for all these teams as they go through because you want your area to do well. You want to say, hey, we've got the best basketball in the state. We went, so, the number of fans that these teams have is growing exponentially as they continue on because everybody, gets behind them and roots for them and wants them to do well.
Yeah, it's a point of pride, especially in this area. I mean, you want to talk about just like sports and athletics. I mean, we've got programs, but I think we're most known for basketball.
Yeah, this is a definite basketball hotbed of Missouri, and people get behind your teams and get behind the area teams, and so it's a lot of fun, and it's just going to be interesting to see if we can get any state teams win a state title, and if so, how many?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. To every team that plays going forward, best of luck to you.
And I think we're going to drop a podcast on Friday this week instead of Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, most likely. Typically we record on Wednesdays, but obviously there's going to be some games going on that have some implications. So we can't really necessarily record while those games are happening. So yeah, next episode will be coming out Friday morning at 7 a.m., same regular time.
That's awesome.
All right. This has been the SEMO Sports Zone. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.